That's so
Step
cool.
one, make ridiculous ask that makes people be like, "What? No way, you actually want this." Anchor super high. Step two, make minor concession to make people think that it's fun. I don't know the actual steps off the top of my head, but yeah, it's pretty funny how telegraphed all this stuff is. This is the circle jerk, by the way.
That is a cursed image, Nick.
This is the circular economy.
With that logo's on top of their heads, that is crazy.
That is something.
Well, dude, speaking of images, should we check out our wonderful comments?
Yeah, speaking of cursed imagery, let's show you some of our 17 podcasts profile pictures.
We need to make the logo as well, Mark. I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, actually, let's have fun with the 17, because
Because
Drew crushed it with that.
Drew,
All right.
you're on legend. Thank you, man. And everyone else who, on the other 17s that have reached out.
OMG Everdo says, TBH, I like the old thumbnails. Oof, Jack, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Jack.
Oh my gosh. Well, we tested three. We tested an OG, we tested a faceless, and we tested something with a logo. So,
Yeah, we can take a look. Check these stats. Because Jack and I are constantly trying to optimize the podcast, right? Trying to make it better for our fans, for our 17. And we decided we would do a thumbnail test this time on some different approaches. So, stats are looking a little shocking. This is the one with Elon Musk's face on it, 32.9%. This is the one with both of us, and then the 27 mil model, 32.5%. This is the one the viewers are used to. Good old boring Jack and I with some text, and that's 34.6%. What are we thinking?
Well, I think we need to do some different photos.
Yeah.
That was a solo episode. So I think we probably want to do one faceless, one tried and true classic, and then one with probably different photos and or an image. And we want to do that for a week. So just put some effort into it, and then just like test it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, like instead of like a day, like we'll keep this going for like a week.
Yeah, test it out, because we just I think that's the biggest bottleneck. It's probably actually our CTR is pretty good, to be fair. But if you don't know who we are, we could be anybody. Only 17 people know and click. So it's like, what about the rest of the 8 billion people? So
That's true. And our goal is to capture the attention and the views of all humans.
yeah, at least get to 18 by the end of the month if we can.
Okay, DL track stuff on the health side of things like sleep scores, HRV, RHR, what foods wreck your sleep, etc. Maybe it won't matter as I will be operated by Chinese robots and get a super heart.
I actually want to do. I want to do more of that. I want to get a heart rate monitor. I think that's the next one. Track sleep and heart rate monitor. Yeah.
Do you have like a Whoop band or something?
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The main like issue, and this is what I'd recommend you just not do to start, because it'll probably fuck you up for like a month or two, is you get so addicted to checking it in the morning that it starts to like label your day. You'll be like, oh, I got like a 65% of my sleep. Ugh, my day's probably gonna suck. It's like, no, just don't do that, and you'll be totally fine. You'll get all the data tracking benefits and the ability to like improve your life without actually having to be sort of self-fulfilling this prophecy that your day is not good. But I have a Whoop, and it's super cool. And if you want, Jack, you can join my Whoop community, and you can rank on each other for our heart rates.
I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to like battle who can get the lowest heart rate. I'm down for that.
You want to take this?
Nick's heart rate is running the spikes at crazy intervals. Like, what's Nick doing right now? What is Nick up to? What's happening at this wedding right now? I ran Quen 3.6 on my old RTX. Now setting up and optimizing Quen. I'm a nerd, as Jack said, but it's totally worth it. Dude, it's fun. It's very, very fun. I'm glad that you're enjoying that, brother.
I would like to set this up actually on my laptop. I bought a laptop specifically for the purpose of running like models. It was like $4,000 or $5,000, and I thought I was just going to use Olama models all day. But then they were just 6 months behind, so I never actually ended up using them for virtually anything of import. But Quen 3.8 seems like the exception, just given the fact that it is mean, lean, and ready to
rock and roll, man. Ready to rock and roll.
The Falcon has landed.
We're gonna have to keep explaining these jokes. That's so funny.
That's the downside. This guy can't run Quen 3.8 on his terminal because he needs 17 gigabytes of RAM. Well, no problem. RAM prices are about as affordable as they'll ever be.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one about Cursor. Jay says, I've just downloaded Cursor after not using it for a year. My god, it has improved dramatically in that time. I'm searching over from Anti-Gravity for some projects to see how Grok performs. So far, so good.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's a shame with Anti-Gravity. They were really crushing it, man. They were doing some wonderful things. Hopefully we can bring them back. But let's see how Cursor goes with Grok. I think it's going to be super duper interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, at Clairvo, we just brought Cursor into our workspace. Everybody's tagging Cursor now in Slack and stuff like that. It's pretty fun.
That sounds sick.
So
I was going to say, Nick, our logo's now officially updated, by the way.
Oh, sick! Nice job. I like that you were doing that while we were doing the Q&A. Very efficient.
Did we? So the Stack Podcast, guys, we stack everything. We're ready to rock and roll. Guys, have a beautiful and blessed day. As always, we will see you in the next one. And by the way, if our thumbnail looks different, you still got to click on it. All right? This is part of the deal. This is part of the deal we're making. Click on that thumbnail and let us know how cool it is. We'll catch you tomorrow.
See you later.
Recently, there has been a pretty
it, let's go to default. We're gonna modulate the top left quadrant so that it creates like that buzzy sine wave sound. And we're gonna paste the MIDI in here, and then we're gonna click inside the piano roll. We're gonna hit shortcuts here. We're gonna hit Alt A and arpeggiate the notes. Then we're gonna hit Alt R, turn off pattern mode, turn on what's called pan, bipolar pan mode, so it randomizes the panning position per note. This is a very quick way to come up with the top line. And then we can add that rhythmic top line over here. So now we're adding rhythm as well. Now we just gotta work on the sound to make it cut through. I'm adding a third operator for tone. So you can raise this up 12 semitones. Let's work on this bass. I thought the bass sounded different before. So now we have enough layers for the entire composition. We have rhythm and top line, we have harmony, and we have contrast. So that's the fullness to a composition. So see how it evolves over time. We initially have their chords, then we swap it out for our chords, then we add our top line, then we add our chords, then we do our bass line. We even switch the bass line on the second half. So this just shows the different ways we can mix and match our puzzle pieces once you understand the system. Now let's route everything to the mixer, and in the mixer, that's where we can start adding creative effects. There's a billion things we can do, but gross beat is going to be very common for underground type stuff. Here we can add gross beat. So there's a million things we can do in gross beat. I can sit here all day and go through presets. Now, if you don't want the bass included, we can just separate it from the group. So now we're separating the bass and the melody. And then again, there's many ways we could add gross beat. We could blend it in. That adds like a sub rhythm. So I think let's try blending the layers. But then on the volume tab, let's try creating like a swell manual. Just gonna right click, make a single curve. So this way the rhythm doesn't 100% block the main melody timing. I wonder if it's triggering. Wonder why it keeps going to this one. I don't know if these are linked in some way. I'm not sure how to unlink those. So what I'll do is I'll copy gross beat, use the second one only as a volume. So I'm not sure if it's reading the volume control or not. Let's turn off. So now we have a little bit dynamic. So then all these decisions that we're making are completely creative decisions. You don't have to make these decisions. And then we can ungroup stuff, like let's say we want the chords to not be grouped. So now only the top line stuff gets mangled. You guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. So here, one more time from the beginning. So as you guys can see, with these 4-component system, you can't go wrong when it comes to composition for melodies or for entire tracks. If you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. Peace out, guys. Alright guys, we continue the melody series right here, busyworksbeats.com/melody. So what I'm going to show you guys today is underground melody. We're going to start with the bass, and then we're going to build, from the bass and create a deeper melody. So let's start at 140 just to get started. Pretty fast BPM. Now we're going to just grab an 808. You guys can find this at beatbattleleague.net. When you sign up, it's in the Season 3 Battle Pack. You can download for free. It's 120 808s in here. So let's start off with just a regular 808. We don't want something that's super distorted because distortion can add more notes that aren't in our actual melody. So we need something pretty clean. Let's hit Control L to send that to the mixer. Now, first we're going to lock in the pattern before we get into the notes. So the pattern here is called Trecio, Tre-si-o, Tre-si-o. But the thing is, you can continue Trecio, so it goes Tre-si-o, si-o, like that. So that's the bounce that we're going to use. And we can repeat Trecio, so that's how you guys can be more unique with the sound. Now let's right click, go to piano roll, let's hit Control up so we can hear the actual tuning of the notes. That's my ear, needs to be up just one, so let's hit Shift up. Okay. Now, to figure out notes that work for your 808, what we're going to do is take the root note here, count up 7 notes. This is called a perfect fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where whenever you're 7 notes away from the root note, it's called a perfect fifth. It always works. Now, let's say you want to add a little jump note. We're going to add this note, hit Control up, just to throw off the bounce a little bit. And then we can double click a note and make it a slide note, so it can slide from this tuning down to that tuning over this amount of time. So now we have a unique bounce. Let's hit Control down. Now we're not going to hear the tone here, so here's where we're going to start saturating the sound. But I recommend you guys don't saturate your sound right away because, again, when you hear the music theory, it's going to change. If you distort it too much, you'll hear other notes. So let's add Fruity Wave Shaper to what's called the harmonic series. Let's turn up the oversampling to 16 times. We're going to right click the node in the top right, go to single curve, pull up your curvature here. And then we're going to turn down the post level and just mess with this curve. Now we can go to the sample itself. We can mangle it without parameter. We can mess with the pre-computed effects like Pogo. It just depends on what you guys are trying to do. Keep in mind the Pogo will change the perceived tuning. Another thing you can do is go to your envelope here, go to the pitch envelope, turn it up, pull your attack back, turn everything down except your decay curvature, and this will create a pitch bend down. So that way your 808 becomes more of a kick type transient than just a soft 808. But as you guys can hear, it changes the perception of the tuning. So we're going to pull back the decay time. So now let's go to scalar, figure out what key we're in. Okay, those are the notes that match this 808. So it tells us we're in G sharp minor. We can always transpose the key. So we're in G sharp, even though this says C sharp, we're in G sharp because every 808 is not tuned to middle C. So that's why it's very important to make sure you guys understand what key you're in. So we're in G sharp minor or B major. We're just going to go G sharp minor for now. If you want a happier sound, you can start in the major scale. Now we're going to open up Serum 2. Actually, let's use FL Studio stuff. I want to give you guys the project files. So let's open up Toxic Biohazard. This is an FM synth that's very good for this genre. Let's go to default. And what we're going to do here is turn the top left quadrant of 4 modulations to about 20. Okay, that's going to give us a nice buzzy sound. Let's turn on the operator 2 and turn on the output of operator 2. And then pan 1 to the right, pan 1 to the left. Turn off my piano. So this is the sound you guys should have here. Now again, you can modulate it more for more buzz, but keep it around 20, that's a safe spot. Okay, so it's a really nice sound, and we can, again, modulate that over time. So what we're going to do from this point is stay in G sharp. It might be easier to transpose this up to C instead of G. So let's see how many notes that would be away. So G sharp to C on the keyboard is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got to transpose this bass line up 5. Hit shift up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what we're going to do is just pull it back down, an octave, control down. Now we should be able to match the tone now in C sharp. So it's important that you guys choose a key that's very familiar. I'm not saying G sharp is not familiar, but it's not a very common key. So we want to transpose up to C sharp just to make it easier for us as producers. We can always transpose it back. Now most people are going to tell you to go into the piano roll and put your scale highlight on. The reason I'm not going to do that is because we're probably going to go out the key here and there on purpose. So to keep this follow alongable, okay, I'll draw in the notes, but normally I would play this. So we're going to turn the velocity down. We're going to start at C sharp, and we're going to create a minor chord, which is 0, 3, 7. What does that mean? If you start here at the root note, this is 0 because it's the point of relativity, and there's no distance from this point. Count up 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. You have what's called the minor third. Count up to 7 from the root note, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This gives you what's called a perfect fifth. So you don't need to make complex chords in the beginning. Okay, so that's our first chord, a minor chord. Now if you want to extend this, what we're going to do is take the third and then duplicate it, hit shift up 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's the fifth of the third is actually the seventh, for those who are wondering. So it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 0, 3, 7, 10 gives you the minor 7th chord. Am I here? What's here? Okay, so this gives us what's called a minor 9th chord. We don't need to memorize this. I'll show you guys how to build that chord even without knowing music theory. All you got to do is just choose which chord type you want to create. In this case, a minor chord. So we're going to define our root note, C sharp. Count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Add that note. Now from here, all you got to know is the number 7. So we're going to take both these notes, duplicate them, and count up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You just now created what's called a minor 7th chord. Now take your 5th and add 7 to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you have the 9th chord. And we can do cool stuff like take this E, put it up top. Okay, we can rearrange the chord, and this is where we get into melody making from harmony. So in the harmonic series, the reason people raise the third is because in the harmonic series, when you go through the intervals of the harmonics, the third is actually higher than the perfect fifth, the root note and the octave. So that's the reason why people raise up the third, subconsciously. So let's start here at the third. This identifies the chord type, and now we're just going to add rhythm to this by spreading apart the notes. So we're going to do in increments of 4. And then my ear's just going to grab it to the next point. Okay, so my ear wants to hear. Now the second chord, we're going to have to understand that it's not a minor chord. Now my ear wants to hear a dominant chord, but that's a little too advanced for you guys. So I'm going to show you guys how to switch the chord type. Why is it getting loud outside? We're going to take the minor third and the minor 7th, hit shift up. This is going to make it a major chord. Now these notes don't feel like they're in the key. So here's a safe bet. Whenever you guys don't know where to go, just take the chord, pull it over, hit shift up 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's duplicate it over until our ear wants to hear change. Let's go back to that rhythm, switch it up a little bit. So I'm just adding little things in here to switch it up. One of my techniques is to add a lower velocity 808 just to catch the ear a little bit. Alright, so let's distort this more. Like I said, guys, we can swap out the 808. So the melody is not doing much of anything right now. We're just trying to get the tones to feel the same energy-wise. So let's right-click, switch the 808. Now keep in mind, this 808 is tuned differently than the other 808, so now we have to retune it back.
notes inside a key. Right now, again, we're just trying to figure out which 808 sounds best. So I like this 808. So now I'm going to use my ear. Should be thin. So this is tuned to middle C. Alright, so now let's give the melody more movement. We don't want to focus too much on the bass just for this step. So the main reason people get stuck with chords is you don't understand which chord comes next. Alright, so what I'm listening to when I'm playing this chord progression, I'm going between two chords, okay? That's the tonic and the fifth. All we gotta do is just figure out the chord in between. So here's the tonic on the left. Here's the fifth on the right. Our ear just wants something to fill in the gap. And we can use the same curvature, or we can switch up the curvature. So the first chord is this. It's really this. Normally I would play a dominant chord here. And then we're playing G sharp. With that raised third. So our ear just needs something to go in between. The first place you guys can check is just doing it by ear and transposing up. That might be the fastest way for beginners. Now this is going to take us out of key. So we're just hitting shift up. Let's just repeat that fifth. So don't worry about being in key. The question is, does it feel right for this progression? Again, if it feels quote unquote wrong, we're going to take the third and the seventh and hit shift up 1. So that feels wrong, so we're going to keep it as a minor. Now let's mess with the sound itself, because right now the sound isn't very interesting. Let's make it more interesting. So here's where sound design comes into play. So now it's in the mixer. Now we can mangle it to match the rhythm of the 808. Let's open up Grow Speed here. Now this will be just one layer, the harmony layer. Let's go to preset juggling science. Preci. That's a Precio pattern. It's a little too repetitive though, so let's go to repeater. Try something like that. So instead of switching those top notes, we're just going to change the bass note. That's another technique. Instead of thinking we need to change the entire chord, let's just change the bass. So the key here is getting the right rhythm. Right now we have the wrong rhythm. This is more in the pocket. Let's get this 808 to sound more. And for this one, we're just going to use a half step instead of perfect fifth. Let's just pull it one note above. Oh, you know what the bass does? It's not matching the root note of the chords. That's why it feels off. So what we're going to do is highlight the bass, hit Control G, and now we're going to, you guys can combine these two into one pattern, but I recommend not getting in the habit of doing that. But to do that, you just hit Control G, and we'll combine the two, and now we can make our bass follow the root note of the actual chords. So instead of playing C sharp right here, it should be playing D sharp. And then this should be higher, so that's why it didn't sound cohesive. If you don't see this, go to your top left, go to where it says View, go to where it says Ghost Channels, and turn that on. Anything in the same pattern, you'll be able to see all the MIDI in one screen. Alright, so now we just gotta work on the sound to make it a little more bell-like. Let's add another operator in here, operator 3. Let's add a little distortion by changing the detune. Let's give this a short decay curvature.
Shop 40% off classroom decor at Hobby Lobby. Create a classroom that brings joy and creativity for every student, every day.
Now we could make this even more chaotic by pulling this down, duplicating it. Now this is a chaotic technique here, but we're going to copy it, pull it over. What is that, a half bar? Hit Control up. So now we're adding the same melody, just duplicated. But it sounds much more full now. I like this technique. I just want the second part to be maybe a different chord. Instead of I want this to be let's try B instead of G. So we need to change this note as well. So that's just something random. There's no technique here. I'm going by ear. I feel like it could be a little more jumpy. So let's see if we can get some volume jumpiness in there. So now we're combining rhythms. We're doing dun 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 plus dun 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 dun, like all these little other rhythms. So this is polyrhythmic melody. I like that bounce. Let's try this 808. Let's widen it out a little bit. Let's go to pre-computer effects. Up the stereo delay. Let's duplicate everything. Hit Control V. Let's highlight the second half. Hit Control G to group this. And now what we're going to do is transpose the key. The entire key of this. So let's go to the top left. It'd be easier to just transpose from here, but we have to go to what's called the pattern picker. Right click, go to transpose. We're going to transpose this up one semitone. It's going to take us out of key. So I think our first key, let me see what key we're in. C sharp. Then we're going to move up a half step up to D minor. Alright, now let's get the other elements in here. Now a lot of underground is the drums and just the bass movement. So let's see how much room we can fill up with the drums here. I'm not trying to make an entire beat because we still have one layer to add. See what kits we have here. Let's find a snare. Chord clap. So my ear is 1, 2, snare, snare, 1, 2, snare. Okay. Don't be afraid to mess with the velocity in the graph editor as well. Two, snare, snare, 1, 2, snare. Alright, let's add the snare bounce in here. Let's add some open hi-hats in. Some more cymbals than open hi-hats. I don't know if I like those. Let's try some hi-hats. Now the hi-hats, you guys can get more experimental. The beat, we have to be careful because the melody is already going through a ton of rhythm. So if we add more rhythm that doesn't match that rhythm, it's just going to sound too chaotic. This is where you got to really pay attention to your hi-hats. So I'm going to start off with the basic, fill each 2 steps, but then we're going to use the gauge editor to find out the note repeat. So just a little note repeats here and there. I feel like the hi-hat's a little too aggressive. I might swap it out. Yeah, let's pick our own hi-hat here. See what happens if we pull the 808 back centered. So see how it started with the bass line and we expanded on the bass line into the chords. One more thing with the 808. Let's turn the hold parameter all the way up, turn everything else down. This will truncate the 808 when we give it a note length. So I think the note length by default, we hit Control L, so all the notes are extended. But if we want to shorten a note, we can just pull it shorter. Let me figure out which pattern we're on here. Now we have that little gap, and that creates that truncated sound. So we can still add an arpeggiated sound in here. So here's where we're going to get a little more exotic here. Let's hit Control G to group everything into one pattern. Really all we need is the chords in Toxic Biohazard. So I'm going to keep this FL Studio native. We don't need to go too crazy with Serum, but Serum can take this up a notch. So the Toxic Biohazard, let's go to default, turn this on, turn operator 2 on. They can modulate the sounds by themselves. We're going to turn the mix level up for operator 2. You can pan them left and right to make a wide sound. We're going to right click, actually not right click, we're just going to paste inside the pattern here. So we're going to take this existing chord pattern and we're going to mangle it as much as we can to create a really unique sound. Now it's going to be based in arpeggiation, so I'll show you guys different tools that nobody really talks about in FL, like the settings. So let's go to song mode. So this melody can carry the whole song. Let's go to settings. Let's go to arpeggiator. We can mess with the arpeggiator here. We can also set this to a scale. We're in the, what minor scale was it? Minor, natural. I think our root note was, I don't think you could set a root note. Never mind, that's too much. Never mind. Let's go to sustain. Let's do some note repeats, so it stutters. We're going to do at least 2 octaves, so it has a little bit of pitch movement. Now another area people don't talk about is the delay here. So let's pull up the feedback and mess with the ping pong delay. And you can also change the tuning of the delay. So let's add 1 octave to the delay as well. Now I think the arpeggio is too short. For us to hear this, so let's see if I make it longer. Not sure why we're not hearing. Okay, so I guess the delay time's too long. Let's fix this. I guess the arpeggiator overrides the delay. I think that's what's happening because I don't hear any delay anymore. So let's turn that off. Now that might be too much for the ear for this because we're already jumping an octave. So another technique you could do is do plus 700. Just adds a 5th in there. Now that sounds chaotic too, so let's just keep it normal. Here's what I'm going to do also. Let's repeat this section for at least, however many bars, 8 more bars, so that we can clearly separate the key. So I'm going to label the keys for you guys so you don't get these confused. Make sure the keys are right. So we got to make these unique as patterns so they don't. Again, I normally don't combine all the patterns, but for underground, because we transpose so much, I can see why people combine patterns. And we can still add slide notes and different things like that, like a Reese, because our bass is on this side of the track. So now we have that fantasy type sound. I still want to add some arpeggiator in here, so let's copy this. So we're just gonna have to separate the delay and the arpeggiation here in Toxic Biohazard into two separate things. Alright, now let's add a layer of arpeggiation. Now this arpeggiation is more of a granular thing than it is to be tonal. So let's go here to talk. Toxic Biohazard, let's go to the wrench tool. Go upward. You can also transpose the octave quickly by right clicking the octaves here. And we can go to the notes themselves and hit Alt R, and then so 9 Angyal, turn off pattern mode. We're gonna go to levels and mess with the panning per note. Now with this arpeggiation, we can do a lot of stuff. We can add gross speed. We can do a gazillion things. There's no one thing to do. You guys can mess with gross speed. You guys can mess with Transporter, which is another FL Studio plugin. Let's go to Transporter. Where is it at? Transporter. Here it is. So you can mess with the reverse. You can mess with the octave up, the octave down. I usually keep mine on tempo sync, tempo trigger, 1 quintuplet. You can mess with the spread. If it's too much, we can pull down the dry. So it just adds a little glitter notes. And then if you guys want more control over the groove, you can add gross speed and do a simple volume automation here. So it's basically just turning off and on. Create something like this. It might be too much movement again, so we can mess with gross speed. Use half time under preset to get a momentary half speed. These are just textural layers. I forgot to separate these. And plus I already named these wrong. This is supposed to be E minor. This is why I don't label stuff too early. Hold on, I got the wrong keys in the wrong place. So this would be C sharp right here. Make these different colors so we can see which one is which. So we still have to add a Reese type bass in here. I'll show you guys how to do it. So I think that overlap with gross speed is the reason why I sounded out of key for a second. So in that case, I would turn off gross speed at the very end, the half speed. So let's create an automation clip. Turn it off on that last bar, the last beat, so it doesn't overlap into the next bar. It's just the tail of the music. I don't think we need automation on growth speed. I think it's just the release tail with the delay. So we're just gonna fix that as we go. So we're gonna use Toxic Biohazard to create a respace. The respace is where we're gonna add slide notes. Let's turn on two sine waves, modulate them by each other. We're gonna turn the mode here on monophonic. Actually, we're gonna go to the wrench tool, go to monophonic mode in the back, turn slide mode on. This will make it so we can slide notes. Let's hit Control L. So now I can go in and add. So I'm just playing up and down the scale.
There are really only two types of edits, long form and short form. Learn the skills of both and you can cut almost anything. Trailers, promos, YouTube videos, films, docs, social. The fundamentals don't really change. Pacing, music, sound design, story structure, and a fast, organized workflow. Hey, I'm Chris MacDonald, and I spent the last 15 years working in Hollywood, most of that time at Universal Pictures. Now, I'm the lead trainer at Film Editing Pro, where we focus on directly teaching the creative editing techniques that'll have a huge impact on your work. Over the last 10 years, we've trained editors at major studios like Universal, Warner Brothers, HBO, and Netflix, big brands like Red Bull and the UFC, and massive YouTubers like the team at MrBeast. These are creative techniques you can apply to your own work with any software. Just hit the link below.
Make sure my mic's not recording. So what I want to do is do more of a plain bass in the beginning and then do it at the very end. So let's do. So we're doing C sharp, E sharp, G. To D minor. So we're doing subtle variations like half steps and different things. And it's up to you guys' ear. Let's hit Shift Q. I'll learn this from Infinite. Hit Shift Q, that will quantize the beginning of the notes. Let's hit Control down, see if we get a darker octave. And now I'm just going to modulate the sound. I like the sound the way it is, but let's see if we can push the sound a little bit. Let's duplicate this over. This is gonna now, we need to transpose this, so to make it unique, hit Shift up, so it's in D minor. Now over here in the D minor one, let's try different slides. Okay, like right here, we're gonna go from A to this A down here. We're gonna double click, make it a slide note, so it slides down to that note. Just add more note slides in here. So a quick way to do it is just copy the note, pull it up an octave, Control up, and then double click the note and make it a slide note. Double click right here. So I'm gonna go wing, wing like that. So we're gonna go up and down the octave. This should hold the note. If not, we'll just reset the note. So right here is woo, woo. Okay, so we need to slide faster. So let's make these notes shorter. Hit Alt, drag them shorter. We can hit Control up. So again, you guys will get the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/melody. Let's start from the beginning here. So what we're going to do for that little, section where the notes switch into different keys, we're going to find the main melody sound. And then we're going to add Fruity Mute. People don't even know this is a plugin. We're going to add Fruity Mute 2. And then we're going to right click. And actually we could just right click over here and create automation, or we could just right click the mix level, create automation, and we're going to turn it on at the very end. So we're going to change the snap to grid here to either a beat or half beat. And at the very end where they overlap, we're just going to mute the main melody so our ear doesn't pick up on that key change. Let's make sure it's actually on. Did I mute the right thing? Alright, so for whatever reason it's not muting. I don't know why it's not muting. Okay, I had it on. Okay, anyway. So mute has to be off. That's kind of backwards. Mute needs to be on to mute stuff, not off. So anyway, we're going to turn this on off. And then now the ear doesn't pick up on the key change as much. That's a technique you guys can try for this specific project. Let's just do that at the ends here. Alright, now let's open up the other instruments. Let's hear this composition so far, and then we're probably going to group everything and transpose all the melodies in bass. My ear was here, like a repetitive 4-note thing in here. That's just my ear telling me it may fit, it may not. So let's add another sound in here. Now for this, let's do Toxic Biohazard. We have a little more control. Click the preset, go to default, switch it back to default. And now we're going to turn on operator 2. These are our first starting points. Operator 2, operator 1, modulated by itself. Give it a short decay curvature because we want this to be like a quick decaying arpeggio. So we're going to turn off sustain and turn off release. Pull back the decay curvature. I can hear my piano. Let's pull the octave up, 12 semitones. And let's give it a little release so it doesn't click. So my ear wants to hear a repetitive 4-note thing. So let's see what notes those are. Da-na-na-na. My ear hears da-na-na-na, and then it hears da-na-na-na. So let's figure out those notes. So we need to zoom in and change the grid to something smaller, 1/4. So we're gonna do dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and then that's gonna be the fast rhythm, and then dun-dun-dun-dun is gonna be the slow rhythm. So this is all by ear. There might be too much movement on it. That's what my ear hears though. It's weird that it hears this, but the dun 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 feels a little blocked in. So what we're gonna do is try pulling this up an octave. Maybe that's why it sounded cluttered. And normally I would do like an arpeggio to trigger this type of pattern. You guys got to make sure not to hit Control B like I just did, because it latch pastes, and if there's a gap at the end of the note, like right there, then it will offset your melody. Like the dun-dun-dun-duns need to be random, so let's highlight these, hit Alt R, and change the levels here for the panning. Turn off pattern. So let's go back to velocity. Then my ear was here. Dun. Too much. Let's take out another layer. The only thing is it can't carry the song, so we gotta figure out compromise. Or let's try pulling this up 2 octaves. I don't know if that's gonna fit. Adding effects to this and see if we can make it fit. We're gonna force this in. It may not fit though. So I like it as a rhythmic energy. Probably put it on the second half though, because we're gonna have to combine these anyway. Control G and transpose this up a half step, shift up. I kind of want to hear it without the growth speed part. Maybe we just need to turn off growth speed for this. This is not the same. It's one of those weird decisions where we have to just allow the clutter to be there. Start from the beginning. Let's group everything into one group and add a little more saturation. I think we just need a little more width. That frees the limit. saturation. Mess with the threshold to the left, ratio to the left. Pull up sustain. Also try free wave shaper. Right click. Add single curve. Oversampling on 16. Turn up the curve. So some elements might be overcooked like the 808. So we're going to pull back on that saturation. So because this 808 is very sustained, we need more transient activity. The Fruity Limiter, the expander will add a little transient shaping, but here's a tip. If we want to copy the timing of the 808, we're going to double click, find our 808 pattern, hit Control C, right click, go to an empty pattern. Because the kick is not tonal, we're just going to hit Control V, click in here, hit Alt K, I learned that from Sticky Beats. Go to Key, Scale C, None, Snap Above, and then make sure the range here is at C5. What it will do is trigger just the kick sample without all the tonalities. So we can add that in to match the 808 timing for added transient. Now this kick has a weird attack to it. So that adds a little more transient activity to the 808 so it stands out. Experimental stuff here. We're going to highlight anything melodic, so all the bass. We're going to hit Control Shift, all the arpeggios, all the melodies, every change here. Now this can basically what I'm going to do is hit Control G. So we're going to pull it over here so we don't mess up the original pattern. Let's hit Control G. This will group it all into one pattern. So I'm going to label this as the original keys so that we don't forget. Original. Now we're going to transpose this, so anything that wasn't tonal or claps, hi-hats, percussion type stuff, we're going to make sure we duplicate that over on the second half, hit shift, pull it over. So I think we copied everything. And we need to copy the automation as well, so let's copy that. So on the right side, what we're going to do is basically transpose the entire musicality of the composition we just created. So we're going to right click and transpose this. I like to go up 3, down 3, and -1, +1. So let's try all 3. To give you guys a formula, down 3 is more melancholic and more introspective. +3 is more joyful sounding. So I did -3, +3, so we were back at the original. So here's -3 from where we started. I like the tone, but it's a little too it's a little too dark. So let's transpose it back. +6 semitones, so now we're +3. I like that tone. I'm gonna mess with this re-space tone a little bit. A little harmonic to stand through. Underground, there is a pattern to it. Some of it is creative change and modulation, but there is a pattern to it. It's not completely random, as much as we think it is. So we'll be continuing the series, covering more underground styles, more melodies in general. Go to busyworksbeats.com/melody to get these project files for free and to learn more about melodies. Peace out, guys. welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I need you guys to smash that like button. Today we continue the melody series right here at BusyWorksBeats.com/melody. If you don't know me, I'm Game for BusyWorksBeats.com. We train over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Glorilla. We have 3 confirmed Grammy winners and multi-platinum plaque-winning producers. In this video, I'm going to give you guys the melody formulas to always create dope melodies. All right, it's very simple. So the first step is understanding simple chords. Now, chords build up melody. As much as people want to avoid chords, chords are melody. It's called harmony specifically. So what we're going to do is map this out. The most modern melodies start at C sharp. I've noticed C sharp minor. So we're going to create a minor chord. What builds a chord, however? Okay, we're not talking about scale degrees, but what builds a scale? It's integer. Okay, so my system derived from integer notation, and I created a system called chord codes at BusyWorksBeats.com. So for example, if we start here at C sharp, I can count up and create a minor chord no matter where I am on the keyboard. So the minor chord is 0, 3, 7, meaning C sharp is the point of rest, no relative distance, and then we're going to count up our keyboard note by note until we finish out the chord code. So this is 0, and we're going to count up the keyboard 1, 2, 3. We're going to play those notes. That's called the minor third. And then we're going to finish the chord code 4, 5, 6, 7. Play all these notes together, you get a minor chord. So that's how I teach people chords in less than a minute. You don't need to memorize scales. You don't need to go to music theory college. You don't need a special tutor. It's as long as you can count, you can create chords. Now here's how we turn chords into melody. So instead of playing chords like this all at once, we're going to spread them out in time. So just like a guitar, we're going to pick the notes. That's what creates melody, is spreading out chords over time. So now that you guys understand where chords come from, it comes from numbers under the hood. I'm going to show you guys how to apply it. Here's a free plugin called Ample Guitar M Lite. It is free. You have to get it from Plugin Boutique. If you get it from Ample Sound's website, it's very complicated and it's confusing. So just get it from Plugin Boutique. It's completely free. Now here's the melody we created. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to create that complex of a movement. It's very simple once you understand chord codes. So let's go to a blank pattern here. We're going to right click, go to piano roll. I assume you guys don't have MIDI controllers, so I'm going to show you guys how to draw this in. We're going to change our snap to grid to 1/2 beat. And we're going to start right back at C sharp. So the first thing is to map out your chord. Okay, so we're going to start here C sharp. Okay, and then we're going to use the chord codes. This is 0. Okay, and then we're going to count up the keyboard to finish out the chord code, counting note by note. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 3, 7 gives us the minor triad in this case. Now we have to give it timing so that it doesn't feel like we're playing a chord. So there's many ways we can go about creating timing. Now to level you guys up very fast, let's talk about chord voicing. So I can play a chord this way. I can play it this way. Or I could even play it like this. So we're playing the same chord, we're just moving where those notes are. So let's first start off with the normal voicing. And we're going to start here at the perfect fifth and then work back down to the tonic. The perfect fifth usually wants to resolve on the tonic, so that's why it feels more natural. Now in the melodies that we normally create in terms of top line, it likes to be in what's called the rule of threes, or the rule of thirds. So we're going to make the notes in threes. So what we can do to this chord is simply slice it and just repeat the same pattern. So let's slice it. Okay, and then we can have it repeat in the same pattern. Just hit Control, hit Shift to drag this over, and just hit Shift. Now on the last time, it's going to stretch it all the way out. Now for an acoustic guitar, the reason it sounds fake, one is because it has unnatural reverb, so let's go into the plugin and turn that off. Any delays or any reverbs are not natural for a guitar in terms of like spatial effects. Nextly, what we're going to do is elongate these notes, because in an acoustic guitar specifically, when you play a note, it rings out in the body of the guitar, it doesn't just stop. So let's hit Alt-L and then make sure only with selection is turned on. That will make sure it fills in the gap for that specific note in FL Studio. So So this will make it sound more natural. So now we're going to go based on what our ear wants to hear. Okay, so we're really listening to the top note. Now my ear wants to hear dun. Okay, so now we're going to hit shift and drag the entire chord down. And if it sounds quote unquote wrong, we're going to turn it to a different chord type called the major chord, which is 0-4-7 instead of 0-3-7. So this feels quote unquote wrong. So let's switch the chord type. Okay, we're going to take this minor third and we're going to pull it up one, hitting shift up. So it's 0-4-7. That creates the major chord. So there's two main chords we're going to switch between, is minor and major. And that feels more natural. Now let me show you guys how to fill out this sound. We're going to take the root note here, the root notes I should say, and hit shift left click to duplicate them, and hit control down, and then we're going to pull them to the left so they start when we start picking the notes. Now again, we need to make sure the notes at the very end elongate all the way to the tail end. So let's hit Alt. Let's highlight all these notes actually, hit Alt L, and then make sure it says only with selection. Now another way to fill out the sound is to add what's called a perfect fifth. So a perfect fifth is either 7 notes up from the root note. So if I'm at C sharp and I count up 7 notes one by one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that gives you a G sharp. It's called your perfect fifth. It always harmonizes with the tonic note or the root note. Okay, so what we can do is add this in the bass along with our root note. Okay, so we're gonna copy the root notes, hit shift, duplicate them, and then pull this note down 5. Okay, so a perfect fifth is either down 5 notes or up 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're confused where to go next with your chords, listen to the top note. Your ear will tell you where it wants to go. So dun, 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 bom. Okay, so let's try that. And let's copy this over. And again, we're not worried about is it the right chord or not. We're gonna just make sure we land on C sharp as the top note. We can always go in and change the chord type. Now it feels wrong as a major chord, even though there's no wrong or right triad. So we're just gonna pull that down a half step to a minor chord. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 3, 7. All we're doing is just changing this middle note here. And my ear wants to hear dun, dun. Okay, that's what my ear wants to hear. So dun, dun, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, dun, dun, dun. So I want to go dun, 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 something like that. Now here we have to remove some notes because everything shouldn't trigger. Okay, and then we want it to go dun. So my ear wants to hear a different top note, which is D sharp. Now here because I moved notes out of the way, we now have to re-trigger the sequence. So the notes are out of order basically. So I'm just using my ear to readjust these. Okay, and then I pulled this middle note, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I pulled it up to a major triad. So right now it's going dun 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 dun, and you see dun 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 dun. So we need to just make sure that pattern exists. So just gonna pull these notes. So this is a little tedious, but all I'm doing, guys, is just making sure it goes 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. Let's have these offset. So now it feels like it's moving around. The melody's moving around, and that's because it's a harmony underneath. Now it still feels like it's fake because everything has what's called the same velocity. So if you don't see this in FL Studio, pull the ellipses up at the bottom here. We're gonna go to where it says control, go to note velocity, and then we're gonna go up to the top, go to tools, and then we're gonna humanize, and we're gonna change the velocity field so that it has a variation in the velocity. Because in real life, you don't play notes the same way. Again, it's like me talking like this every single time, and I'm talking at the same level. It's just, you talk like a robot if you talk like that. So we're gonna fix the notes to have more human dynamic. Now you can try different chords. You don't always have to use a major or a minor chord. This is a little complex, so I'm not trying to introduce too many complex things here, but you guys can also try diminished chords. So for example, we have here G sharp, C, and then D sharp. So a diminished chord is 0, 3, 6. So I can pull all the bottom notes just up a half step. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see what that sounds like. It may or may not sound good for this. Yeah, it just doesn't fit, so never mind. Okay, so another way we can voice these chords is doing what's called a raised, a first inversion. We can do that by raising the tonic. So in short, the way we built the chords was 0, 3, 7. Okay, so what if we take that root note, the 0 in this case, okay, and then pull that up an octave, hit Control up. Now we can keep it in the same timing. Sounds more like uplifting. So let me show you guys something. So this sounds good. So what we're going to do is duplicate this entire section here. Hit Control to highlight, hit Shift, left click, and drag everything over. So we're going to use the same exact harmony, the same exact chords. We're going to take all the root notes, and I'm just showing you guys how to make your compositions feel more full. Now we're going to take all the root notes and hit Control up. All we did is just move the octave. And we can repeat this entire thing. Drag it over, hit Control. To highlight, hit Shift to duplicate, and left click and drag. Now on the third, or the 1, 2, on the fourth way around, what I'm going to do is pull the root notes back down and then raise what's called the third. So the third is that middle note. Remember, this is the only notes we're focusing on are these 3 notes here. Okay, so we're going to take the middle note, we're going to highlight these middle notes, and we're going to pull them up. Now the timing might be weird, so I might have to adjust the timing. So let's just pull those up an octave. It's a little weird timing, so let's drag. This is a little convoluted because we have to drag everything. So we're going to drag the thirds to the beginning of the beat, and then we're going to drag everything else to the right so that it's offset. I think I copied all the notes, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so let's drag these over just one. So here's where it gets weird because the timing is off. So my ear wants to hear the root note raised up for some reason, and then drag everything else over. So it is a little convoluted. I'm not going to act like this is the easiest thing to draw in, because now everything's out of position and we have to remember where it was in time. So it is difficult here. So again, the hardest part here is just getting the time right. So dun dun dun. Okay, now we need to make sure that lines up. I think what might make more sense is if we just line this up. There we go. For some reason, raised thirds is just messing with my brain, guys, but that is the last technique, is to raise that third. Because we have so many notes, it is a little confusing. So to unconfuse my brain, we're going to go back to the source triad so that we're getting rid of all the voicing. And we're going to copy the source triads over, because that will make it easier. So let's hit shift. So we'll make sure we have all the triads. So let's hit shift, drag this over here. I found that when you raise the third, starting with the simple triad usually makes it easier. Now to give you guys a little shortcut, what might help here is if we change the snap to grid to something big like a beat or half beat. And let's try actually the bar. And then we're gonna hit shift Q. So that will pull everything back to the beginning. Now it looks like it grabbed a lot of notes, so never mind. What we need to do though is just start over with this part. Okay, so this is a little tricky. So we're gonna raise the thirds. Taking all these middle notes, hit control up. Now we should be able to, in theory, if I did this right, take all the root notes in the fifth and just drag them to the right. Okay, that's what happened last time. I dragged them right to one step. It should have been two steps. Okay, so everything's offset by a step. Okay, I see what I did there. So I have to manually go through and just line this up. Alright, so that's what happened last time. So this is going to feel more natural, but it feels more gappy. And then we can add in these little notes in between. So now we have a more natural sound. Now it still doesn't have that weight to the sound because we're so high up. Let's try dropping this down an octave to see if it gives us a little more of a natural weight without us having to add a bass note in. Now we have this full composition, guys. Look at all these notes. It looks complicated, but it just started with those three simple notes and understanding chord voicing and timing. We created this entire thing. So let's run it from the very beginning here, and then we'll move into more synthetic melodies. Now, I'm going to explain this four component system, but technically, just to give you guys an overview, we have a contrast layer because we're playing lower notes. We have the chords, in this case C sharp, and then we're playing it rhythmically, so we added rhythm. And because we added the perception of a top line, we basically created everything all in one. The top line, the harmony, the contrast, and the rhythm. So you can combine these four components into one instrument. So now we can move to the next style of melody, which is a more synthetic approach. Serum 2 is considered the industry standard. What we're going to use some FL Studio stuff just to keep it FL Studio related here. Let's go to Toxic Biohazard. Let's go to the presets. Let's go to default, and we're going to use the top left quadrant here to modulate the sound by itself. We'll create like a buzzy sine wave, and we're going to turn on operator 2 and turn on the mix level for operator 2. You can pan one left, one to the right to create a wider sound. Turn these to about 20. That's like the sweet spot for this synth. And now it sounds like a buzzy saw. So the reason this is good is because we can turn it into a respace, we can turn it into an arpeggio, we can turn it into chords. It has a very wide use without getting too buzzy like a saw, but we can always turn it into a saw. So here's what we're going to do for the synthetic approach. We're going to start with the chords, and I'll show you guys faster ways to create different layers. So first we need to decide what kind of chords we're going for. So let's go to the tempo. We're just going to keep this at 140. We're going to right click, go to piano roll. And now let's use those chord codes, but let's use what are called chord extensions. So chord extensions are taking a simple chord like a C sharp and adding notes to it to make it sound more lush. Okay, so if you want more lush music, try chord extensions here. So we cover this at busyworksbeats.com/premium in our music theory essentials. If you guys want to understand chord extensions and lusher chords, I'll just show you guys the notes for now. So let's start off with the minor triad, and let me show you guys actually what the chord code is real quick. So again, the chord codes app is at busyworksbeats.com. So again, your root note is 0. Okay, then we're going to count up our keyboard note by note until we finish out the chord code. So 037 creates the minor chord 0. Count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Play those notes together, you get the minor chord. So 03710 is how you create what's called the minor 7th extension. So 037, 8, 9, 10. Add that in. So when I say 10 and 7 and 3, I'm not talking about chord. I'm not talking about scale degrees. Okay, so very different system here. So that's how you create the chord. Now, if you guys want a more deeper understanding about how to create the chord, all you need to understand is the difference between a minor and a major chord. A minor chord is 3 semitones away. So let me show you guys the math behind this and how to make chord extensions even faster. We're going to take the root note, which is 0, copy it, pull it up 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. Now all we have to do is take the root note and the third, okay, and pull these both up 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We just now created what's called the minor 7th extension. Now, if you want to take the 5th and count up 7 more notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you now have what's called a minor 9th chord. So as long as you know the number 7 and the chord you want to create, you can literally create pretty much anything. Everything comes down to that. Now this chord is very buzzy, so let's pull back some of the modulation here. And certain sounds just have a better octave that they sound better in. So if I hit control down, this just sounds better in this octave. It's not right or wrong, it's just something, it just sounds better. I found that 9th chords tend to sound better in lower octaves. They just sound more smooth. If I went up here, it just sounds a little thin and weird. Okay, so we're going to use a 7th chord in this case, a minor 7th, 0, 3, 7, 10. But again, the way we get that is adding the root note, figuring out we want a minor chord, so we're going to count up 3 notes, and then we're going to take these 2 and count up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's how you get the chord extension. Very simple. Now we have this chord structure. We're just going to determine what does our ear actually want to hear. Okay, so my ear wants to hear that D sharp. So this, in this case, is a minor 9th chord. It's 0, 3, 7, 10, 14, technically. Okay, so we're going to turn the metronome on. And then I'm going to hit shift and pull it up. So I'm just listening to this note. We're going to do what's called syncopation. So syncopation is when we add chords not on the downbeat. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's on the in-between spaces. So I'm going to move this chord to a more in-between space. And I think we could syncopate it even more. Let's change our snap degree to 1/4 beat so we have more control over that fine tune timing. So this sounds wrong. So what we're going to do is take let me see here which way. So we want to keep the top note the same, so we don't want to move that note around. So we're going to take the 3rd and the 7th and hit shift up to make this a major 9th chord. And then my ear wants to hear. Okay, so we're going to duplicate the same chord type and pull it over to C sharp now. I'm going to show you guys a different technique. We're going to make sure the top note is the same here. Actually, what we're going to do is take this chord that we had before, and we're just going to make sure the top note is the same. So we're going to pull F sharp down or get rid of it completely. Just so it feels a little more clustered, it's called. So now we get that Sonic the Hedgehog type of sound. So here is where we can use these 4 components to organize what we're doing. So what we've created so far is the harmony, the chord, okay? So the chords add the glue to the track or the composition. Top line is usually an octave higher. It's not a rule, it's just usually an octave higher so that our ear can separate the notes from the chord, from the melody. And it's a repetitive melody that we can memorize. So what we're gonna do is take this, we're gonna copy and paste it into a new pattern. I'm gonna clone Toxic Biohazard, hit right click, hit C, hit Control X, Control V to copy and paste. Now I learned this from 9ungyal, this specific approach on YouTube. We used to do it back in the day, but on a different variable. But hit Alt A, that will add the arpeggiator. And then this is what it sounds like. But then we're gonna hit Alt R. So this is the specific technique I forgot we used to do. Turn off pattern mode and go to the panning and turn on bipolar mode so it goes left and right. And then have the pan option turned up, and this will randomize the panning. And then we can hit Control up so that it's up an octave. And now we have a top line built out of the chords. And what we're going to do is create 2 sections for the top line. We're going to hit Control G to group this one, and then highlight this, hit Control G. We're going to double click on this second one, hit Control up. So now we have 2 octaves of the top line playing the same thing. So it feels like it's moving over time. To get the bass line, it's very simple. We're going to go back to the chords. We're going to use the same exact sound. We're going to right click, hit C to clone. We're going to take the chords, hit Control C, right click, find an empty pattern, and then paste the chords into the bass. So I'm going to label these so I know which is which. Here's the bass, here's the chords, and here's the arpeggiator, top line. Alright, so now we have the bass. Let's go to pattern mode. All we have to do now is just remove all the notes except for the bottom note. So that's how we get the bass line, just like that. So everything derives from the chords, basically, is what my lesson here. So I'll show you guys a couple things we can do to make the bass feel more bass-esque. We're going to overlap these notes just a little bit so they slur into one another, and then we're going to go back to Toxic Biohazard, turn the polyphony down to mono, which means it can only play 1 note at a time. We're going to go to the settings, go to the wrench tool, turn on monophonic mode and slide mode so that it blurs the notes. It slurs the notes. And we can also try going down an octave, so let's pull this down -12. I might need a little more modulation. Also, sometimes the transpose, it's hard to tell because it's such a low octave, but sometimes that transpose doesn't, I lost my mouse, hold on guys. So instead of doing the in plugin transposition, because sometimes FL Studio plugins don't transpose correctly, we're going to hit Control down in the piano roll itself to pull the octave down, and let's add the bass to the contrast layer. And we have a lot of density because the chords are lower. Let's try pulling our bass down 1 more octave. It might be too low. It's more of in a subcategory. Let's add more saturation to it, more